Did it die?
Good afternoon, Nikhil, Yusuf, Mohammed. How are you doing, sir?
JP, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. There's life, there's loyalty, there's, good, healthy
You don't know.
livings. So today, for this live chat, we want to take a look at something I believe you call the new crowd dynamics, you know,
Yes.
especially in light of what's been happening here when our people gather. I've said a lot, so I'm just gonna let you jump in.
Well, I mean, it stems from a conversation we had earlier, but yes, there's definitely a new dynamics when people get together, be it, I mean, protests that we've had recently, um, where even that dynamic, the protest isn't protesting in St. Vincent is nothing new. It's just how the energy that comes from the crowd. We've seen changes up to the last protest, which has brought the results that we know. Um, and well, I noticed it, and from I guess my background, I have a keen eye on looking at certain things. And one of the things that really caught my attention, right, is how the police force maneuvers in this in these situations, right? And though I've seen in the recent years a change in the attitude of people when they gather, the result of the people gathering, the energy, I've not seen a change in attitude and response from the police force. Um, I might be a bit critical, but that's because of, like I said, my background in that area.
I'm gonna ask you to just explain for those of us who are not so au fait a little bit of that background, so we get a foundation as to who
Well,
you're speaking with today.
I'm the Caribbean Special Assistant of the Nation of Islam and Minister Louis Farrakhan. For those that would be familiar, and I won't go too far into this, but for those who would be familiar with the Nation of Islam, they would know that if anything relating to security, be it personal or crowd, there's not as a group, there's nobody that as quite compare. The amount of we've had Million Man March 3 times, that we've handled. I mean, that's crowd control, and up to 80s, 90s, the beginning of 2000, every black entertainer that wanted security would rely on the Nation of Islam if they were any serious. And it was known that the Nation of Islam didn't carry even a penknife, yet security was done, yet no incident would happen. And because there is a training that comes with it, there's a mindset that comes with it. And so I've had that training. I gave that training. I was a captain in Montreal, so I trained men in that capacity, individually, in groups, how to maneuver, how to protect one person, how to control a crowd. So, these things, they just, they're there. So when I look at a crowd, when I look at police moving, it's through that prism, right? And so I notice these things. So when I see the police force and the different departments, I see what should be done. Right? I see right away what should be done, what I would do if I had my man where I placed them, and then I see the difference, the huge gap, not just between what I would do, but even what other police force would do worldwide. So there's a lack, and I hesitate. I even refrain from blaming officers, right? You see one officer out of line, well, he's out of line. When you see the whole group, then you say, well, they weren't provided with the tools. So you can't blame that individual for doing something, but you can clearly see that they're not moving as a unit. There's a lack of training. What are the reasons are, I have no idea.
So what I'm hearing, and please do correct me if it is that I'm not getting this correctly, but it seems from what you're suggesting here that our police force as is ill-equipped to handle this mountain protest movement here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Is that lack didn't show up until recently.
How was it exemplified? That lack of training.
Crowd control. I give you an example. You go to a show, right? And because the saying is that the mentality of a crowd is 5 years old. And the example I want to give is to show that. It's not to demean people. It's to say that as a crowd, you act differently. I use fireman because he's probably, even internationally, I've never seen anybody own this crowd anywhere. Now, fireman says, everybody go left, and everybody goes left, right? And everybody go right, and everybody go right. Now, you know full well that if fireman is down the street and sees one of these persons that was there at the show and tells him, hey, go left, man ain't going nowhere. So what makes the man move in that particular is the crowd mindset. You get swallowed into this, right? And so, but it's a party. Even in security, you should think about this. But I say that to say this. You, as a police force, have to factor all of that in. I have 200, 300, 500 people in there. I'm not taking the position that all these persons are hostile. I'm taking the position that someone in there could start something that could snowball because each of these 500 individuals are now in a crowd dynamic. They're not thinking individually. They might have come individually. They might have come with 3 friends, but now they're 500s. The dynamic changes. So I have to factor that in. So I have to look at this. I have to see all the possibilities. And when you do that, you shouldn't have no surprises. You shouldn't be caught off guard that the crowd's going on that street and I didn't think they were going to go. Or we saw pieces of, there was pieces of scaffolding on the side of a building. Like a minimal basic training, that wouldn't have been there. And that would have been secured. Why? Because you need one person to see that pipe. Not 500, but one. And that will create chaos. So you need to be in a position as a police force. You should be like a wall. I liken it to how you make gutters before the rain comes, right? So you make your gutters because the water will come and you want to direct the water when it will come. So it will go. You can't stop it from coming. It's going to rain, but you want to make sure that you direct where it's going to go. And that water it's fluid, so it will find its way if your gutters will. Police force, security force are supposed to be that. People are coming, they're going to be moving, they're going to be, whatever, it's a party, they're going to be happy. If it's a protest, there's going to be a level of anger. Now you need to be able to direct that. You need to be firm. And you were there. You don't see that. You will see 2 black squad, and then beside it you'll see a police from the
regular
in whites now.
Yeah, right.
So, and then you'll see a SSU leaning on a pole, and and SSU moving about. There is no order to it. So if you're coming as a protester, if you're coming as you're just passing through. You didn't know there was a protest. You're coming in town, boom, hey, there's a protest going on here. You don't have that feel that there's a wall there. There's direction. It's just, and it worked a few years ago. It worked even a year ago, right? But obviously, we're getting to that point where, like I said, the dynamics is changing and you have to adjust to this, and there was no adjustment to it.
You said just now you have to be firm.
Yes.
I like to shoot for clarity in these
Mhm.
live chats, because right.
Yeah, it could,
So form how? Are we talking form with force, form with attitude,
firm.
form
Firm is
how?
this. Firm is a brick wall, right? It's solid. When I come, if I walk in a certain direction and I see a brick wall, I don't wait till I reach the brick wall. I know that I have to go somewhere else because I won't move that brick wall, right? It's in my way and there's no way for me to move it. So it's like, okay, I'll make a left or a right. That's firm, solid. It's not going to go anywhere. Where it is, it decided to be there for a reason, and it's not going anywhere. That's firm. That's the whole. When you say, should it? So it's the body that is firm. Of course, it has to be composed of firm officers, but at the end of the day, there has to be a unit impact that I see when I arrive. Whether I'm a protester or whether I'm just a passerby, I see it, and that is not there at all.
The very next protest is what? 7 days of it? It should be on the 9th of this
It
month,
is supposed to be a march, yes, yes,
right? Well,
yeah, yeah.
March protest.
Protesting, yes.
I don't know if I'm missing something, but anyways,
No, wait,
they all
yeah.
starts to feel the same after a certain point. So you're given command of the officers to be deployed
Mm.
on September 9th. What do you do between now and then to get you that firm presence around Kingstown?
Well, we have to do, okay. Giving the cert, I mean, as of today,
As of today,
so I can't change nothing that was said before.
as of today,
Because as of today, it was said that they're not permitted to come to Kingstown. As of today. And so, as of today, that protest, march, whatever, gathering is happening between Arnes Vale and Sand Hill. So,
one of the things I picked up earlier is that you're going to be prepared.
Yeah.
There was nobody in the Nation of Islam who would carry a penknife, but you were prepared
Yes.
for anything. That's what you said.
yes, we are.
So let us
How
in that same state of preparedness.
The difference with the Nation of Islam is that above us there was no political tug of war. There was no politicking happening, right? So it was a one entity, top to bottom. Whereas here, the police force has its own order that are already, of course, enshrined in laws, right? But police force, or an army for that matter, at the end of the day, gets their orders and has to maneuvers based not on other higher security forces or police force or general, but at the beginning of the chain is politics, and conflicts can happen. So that's I guess that's an angle that I never had to wrestle with. Then I say that to say this is that historically it has happened many times where the police force or the military force, will follow the political guidance, political policies, the political direction up to a certain point. It has happened many times where this is where we cannot follow anymore, or these are orders we cannot abide by. We see a conflict and we stop as a body. Not saying one soldier leaving, that will always happen, or police was, I quit, I done. I'm talking as a body will say no. Whether it's happened, protests where the police were sent out as riot squads, right, and stop the people, and then at some point they would put their hat on the ground, put their baton, and put their hands behind their back. It's happened many times. As a sign to say no, we will not we will not use our force. We will not be used as a force to hit or to maneuver these people. Which is basically not only saying we're not willing to do that, but we actually in accord or to a certain degree in agreement with the reasons why the people are there in the street in the first place.
Given that shift in the energy that you've been sensing throughout these movements over the time you've been back here, do you think our police force is getting to that point, or is nearing that point, or is it likely to be at that point?
There's a lack of cohesion in bodies, groups in St. Vincent that is visible in every aspect. Unions, the civil society, and the police force. It is one of those bodies that does not have the cohesion, right? Cohesion doesn't mean every single person in that group thinks the same thing and is in accord. But there has to be a critical mass in that does agree, and then there'll be degrees. I kind of agree. I agree. I will not go outside, but yeah, they got my support from far, or I disagree, but I'm marginal, so I won't trouble. But there has to be cohesion in the group. There has to be a reason why you're there. We don't have that, in no groups in St. Vincent. Police is not particular in that. So I highly doubt that the police doesn't even have a union here. They have a welfare association, which is a good thing. It's us as police officers looking out for each other. I think there's like a fund, in the bank. So, if you get into trouble, you might have health issues or whatever, we together, we won't let you down. We'll try to see if we can help you. This is a good thing. But it's not a union, right? A union anywhere would require proper training. It would demand it. We are willing to put our life on the line, and out there we will uphold peace, we will uphold order, but we need the tools. We need to go out in some areas that are, in situations that might be quite violent. This is increasing. There's another dynamic that's increasing. It might not be in the crowd, but things are getting more and more violent. There's more weapons, and it's a different mindset in the people. We're not dealing with the same mindset, right? So as a police officer, as a body, we don't just need more guns or bigger guns, which is, we think that's the mentality up north, more guns. But what we might fail to know is that there's also increased training that is being given in these police officers. So yes, they're giving more equipment every so often, but they're also given a different training, which I definitely not advocate, because that training is being done. If you look at America and Canada, these police bodies are trained by basically Israeli military, right? And so what is given is a mindset. The training is a mindset, right? So you're shaped to see it. And then they're shaped to see the people as the enemy, because they're being trained by soldiers who have learned crowd control and security in a very hostile environment in Israel. And so they bring that mindset. And so there's a break. And we should not want that in St. Vincent. Definitely not. One, we're too small. Two, we're all related, literally. There can't be a us and them here. So we can't, we don't want that type of training, but we do want training. Now, if there's a police force, a police union, that's what they would demand. From the last protest, they would say, hey, we're not equipped. I'm not saying and I'm not equipped. I'm sent out at night. If I'm Black Squad, I'm not trained. I'm not properly equipped to deal with diffusing situations. So I'm left with my gun, my guts, my ability to, to be, because that's what I got. That's what you gave me. Actually, my ability to fight. I didn't even get you from you, the police brass. I got it on the street. I got it from where I grew up. I got it from my mama, whatever. But that's what I have to rely on, because you did not give me tools to enter into situations where there's high tension. Maybe there's a lot of alcohol, so the spirits are high. And I'm equipped to enter the situation and diffuse it. I'm equipped to enter this situation and assess right away the level of threats, where it could come from. And I can quickly judge, should I confront, should I diffuse? To which all these things is not given. It is not. That's why you have all these situations where people will complain on how they were treated by the police officers. But the police officers were left to their own demise. So that's one thing for sure. Now, a police union that is represented, by not the top brass, because this is where the union kicks in, right? It's not just the ability for the officers to speak to the employer, which is technically the government, but is also to talk to the top brass, right? That's what a union does. It relieves the pressure of Selwyn Smith to confront his officer, and then if he doesn't succeed, then he gets all the heat. When his issue is not his own issue, it's probably shared by a couple of others, right? So that's what a union should do. The union would talk into this. In this situation that's growing, it would say, hey, I think it's time we should get a little more training, a little more coordination. Is it you that filmed when Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have one of the angles, right?
Just situation of
yes. So now, from a purely, and I will not go into the political side, and shouldn't be done. Of course, it goes without saying that Prime Minister, as an office, has to be sacred, right? Irrespectively what you think of a politician, of a head of state,
of a particular individual,
it has none to do. The office has to be secure, has to be sacred. I wish I won't go on a tangent into the political and historical side, because I could talk forever. So I'll stick to the security aspect of that particular incident, right? Now, here's how it really happens in the real world. Someone is assigned as the head of the security of the principal. Right? The principal is whoever we are securing that day. So it could be Buju Banton is coming to St. Vincent, right? And he's the principal. So you're the security, you're getting the detail. He's landing at this time. This is the hotel he's staying at. He's going to meet so-and-so in that place. The show is at that time in that location, right? Then security, there's a security person that's in charge of all of this. So you leave him that. Make this happen, everything else ain't touching. Now, when it comes to heads of state and very important people that have permanent security, right? Then there is a head of security. Once that person is receiving the position, the task, and the duty and the responsibility to be head of security, none of his calls can be discussed on the spot.
Say that again?
Once a person is given the task, responsibility, and duty to be the head of security, none of their call can be discussed on the scene.
What do you mean
on
calls? What do you refer to?
Decisions. any decisions, any arrangements that are made cannot be discussed.
Discussed as in disputed, as in
disputed, discussed as in giving your opinion on the spot.
So his word
There are orders.
law.
It is an order, and it needs to be followed immediately, right? If there is to be an issue, that issue should be taken with that person later on when you're debriefing a situation, right? But on the spot, no. Now, that particular day, I'm saying if there should be a person that is in charge, I'm going to venture here, JP, and say that there is no one that is in St. Vincent assigned. Again, I'm venturing here. This is an educated guess. That there's no one who is assigned as head of the security of the Prime Minister with the real task, duties, and responsibilities. And here's why I'm venturing that guess. Is that when the Prime Minister exited his vehicle at the time that he did, that was his decision. He made that decision. I ain't questioning the decision. Anyway, not now. I'm just saying that it appears that he made that decision to exit the vehicle. And he was able to exit the vehicle. Obviously, he was able to. Right? So there's not a person that suggested to the Prime Minister, you should exit the vehicle, and he followed that suggestion. Follow what I'm saying? He, in the back of his car, decided that he would exit the vehicle, and he was able to. Now, if there is a head of security that has that duty, that is mandated by somebody else, by a higher authority, to secure the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, the head of state, could want to exit and go over there, go here, over there. But in that particular situation, and that's the one I'm referring to, that particular situation, there is no way that a properly trained head of security would have allowed that. And when I say allowed, it's not expressing their disagreement or voicing strongly their opinion. It's not allowing, it's not happening. You are not getting out. And everybody else around that is part of the security detail is following that instruction. And everything that happens is the result of the thought process and the decision making of that person based on his training. And that situation doesn't happen. The vehicle can't pass. That's because the security forces did not make provision for the vehicle to go through. There was not 10,000 people in there. It would have been very easy for a properly trained body of security to get two vehicles across the street into the gallery. It would have been very easy to make a route that would have allowed the Prime Minister's 2-3 vehicle to leave the complex and to reach the Parliament. Didn't have to go through that street. There's another street, there's other streets. You could have arrived, is my point. So it's either not using available, I want to say basic security science, for the lack of a better word. Either they fail to use it or they don't have it. But my educated guess is that the Prime Minister is in charge. That if he says he's going there, and they're going to figure out how they're going to make him there, and they're going to figure out. Now, when he exited the vehicle, right? Let's say we skip that part. He exits the vehicle. Now, there's a way you move with a principal in a crowd. There's formations that you take. I didn't see none of that when I'm looking at the video. I'm not seeing no cohesion from a security standpoint. There's no movements. There's no positioning. It's basically, well, I'm fitting there because Bob went there, so I'm going to be beside Bob. The Prime Minister got hit. And you can see on the video in slow motion, something hits him. The people around him that see it, I mean the closer see the projectile, duck as a reflex. You see something arrive, that's your first reflex. You duck. They duck. He didn't even duck right away. There's a delay. You watch it again, there's like even a delay. I'll stick a pin into that. Now, 4 or 5 of the people in close detail turned to the Prime Minister, attending to his wound. Worried, naturally, that he got hit and he's injured. He's not being moved out of there at the speed that is required. The fact that they ducked right away, I'll skip that to say, well, he might not have been put into that type of stress often enough that reflexes kick in. But once the reflex kicked in and you catch yourself, then you should get into a mode. There's actions that you're supposed to be taking at that moment once there's a projectile. And none of these actions are taken. They're just walking with it.
What are those actions?
Trying to get me to do a training for free. Well, basically, you have to ascertain. I mean, once he gets hit, really, you don't even ascertain. He should have been picked up, bodily picked up, and carried away at running pace. Running pace. And that's why the people that are put around any principal are put, of course, because of their training, but you can adjust based on that. You know, you're guarding somebody that's 5 foot, and no use to put 2 7-foot guys beside him, right? The evacuation team will have to lift 120 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever, quick. So you adjust. You adjust based on the principle, but you position people for the worst case scenario all the time. Now, the pace at which you should be taken out of there, because now you're not reacting to the fact that he got a rock. Do you actually know at that exact moment if there's the next rock coming? You don't know that. You have a situation. So it's not the reaction of what happened. Oh, he got hit in the head. Oh my God, you know, he must feel. That's not that. That now the situation has escalated. Get him out of here. But he shouldn't have been there in the first place. But then again, I digress. But now get him out of there. That should happen quick. That should happen fast. That area should have been sealed. Quick. Did you see that in your video? The area being sealed off, like in 5 seconds, flat.
Thinking back, I remember actually meandering around after the incident. You know. So all these things that should happen did not happen. Now my educated guess is that there was nobody there, one, that knew that there are actions that should be taken, and what are these actions in which order. And even if 1 or 2 you know, police officers that might, and I know we've had some police officers that went overseas and got extra training.
think is mostly in management, which is a great thing. I'm just saying, even if one officer or two would have had an idea, right? It's not the time at that moment to start gathering the people around and say, well, you know, I know what to do. I'm going to tell you. There's supposed to be already like a chain of command, a level that kicks in, and everybody already know their place.
All right.
So that's from purely a security point.
We're at that point in our live chat.
Mm.
JP Shumon situation update, guys. We just want to pause and say a quick thank you to our partners here, Diamond Grocery Inc. They've been tremendous in helping us sort out our live streaming facilities, right?
Good brother.
So wherever you are viewing us from, Facebook, YouTube, hey, just want to say thanks, right, for being with us and to our partners. We at the point of final thoughts.
Sure.
Speak to us.
People that are older than you and I, 60, maybe 50, 60, 70, feel and voice the fact they feel that St. Vincent is kind of drifting away. Things are deteriorating to a degree. When they see these things, amongst other things. Let's not forget that there is a history in St. Vincent of massive protests. So this is not actually new. It's just a cyclical field. So students of history expect cycles to repeat themselves. When they're starting to see that step A, B, and C are repeating themselves, well, they will safely assume that D and E will probably also happen. So there's an increase. Without going into the politics, I do not see a imminent decrease of the anger, the emotion. I'll use emotion. Some it's anger, some it's other things, but it's emotional. And emotions, when it's gathered with a lot of people, it turns into a big mishmash that can materialize into confrontation, destruction, and this is just going to increase. There's nothing happening that will relieve the pressure. So we can expect this to mount. Hence the importance of having proper security force, because otherwise the security forces could very well become just an other ingredient in the pot, as opposed to being, maybe the pot that contains it, and then duplicate, all of this, and then there's nothing outside of that to contain that, right? If the police officers, if the police force and the crowd are at each other's throat, what is outside to contain this?
Regional security services, I think.
The
regional security services.
Because they're here?
But they will get here eventually.
Eventually, yeah. My goodness. This is the West Indies, First, they got to find out. Second, they got to ask each other, are you going? Where's you going? Is us? Really? Okay. Then the decision is made. Then preparations are organized. Then they say, so what's the COVID protocol with this thing? You vaccinated? GP, by the time they show up, we're all eating breadfruit, that's it. Morning, lunch, and dinner.
Healthy food.
Healthy food.
Healthy food.
Great food.
Michael, I want to thank you so very much for sharing this live chat with JP Shumon on our Situation Update platform.
Yes, sir.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
So we're going to do this again sometime, right? Come on, man. Blessings. Yo, Facebook, YouTube, thank you for staying tuned, man. Until we go live again next time. Stay blessed. Remember to keep following. Yeah. And thanks as always.